this is Jennifer Manley. I was a photographer for 12 years. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of North Texas, and where I emphasized in photography and photojournalism, and I am honored for the opportunity to judge your September Geometrics contest. Entry level. Title is Shapes and Shades. Score is 9. I can't tell if this is a monocolor image or a black and white, which makes this picture interesting. If I were going to improve this image, I would have used the rule of thirds and focused on a portion of the building to make it a little bit more interesting. Gate to Dachau. Score is 9. The gate is interesting. I just think the composition could have made it more impactful. If I were going to improve this image, I would have chosen a different angle or focused in on a portion of the gate to make it a little bit more impactful. Optical illusion, score 10. This image makes me wonder what it is, or the bigger picture. I think a larger view of the X repeat would make the diamond vent a little bit more interesting. Information, score 12, place honorable mention, photographer Denny Farmer. This image has a lot of fun things about it. All yellow planes and one blue one not in the lead. The lines behind the planes lead your eye through the image. It could have a better use of the rule of thirds. The main body of the image is too centered. Geometric Bundestag, score is 13. Place is honorable mention, photographer Jeffrey Sarenbach. I like that there are people hidden in the shadows. Every time I look at this image, I can see something new. It's very busy, but works very well as a black and white. Dome of St. Nicholas Church in Amsterdam. Score is 13. Place is 3rd place. And the photographer is Nok Wong. I love the circles and that they are offset. It gives the dome dimension. Inside the lines, the score is 14. The place is 2nd place. Photographer Todd Matthews. This is a fun photo. I'm worried the lady's being kidnapped, or I'm wondering if she's meeting the person for an exciting adventure, or is this man taking the actual picture? I like how the mirror bricks distort the image and create mystery. Texas Star at Fair Park. The score is 14. The place is 1st place. There is no photographer listed. This is an icon of the Fair Park. Every time I see this image, it evokes state fair memories. I can smell the funnel cakes now. I like how the flag is off-center. All of the lines draw my eye to it. Great use of thirds and composition and lighting. Intermediate level. Image, glass flower vase, score 8. This vase is lit very well. I'm not excited about the background or the table. If I were to improve this image, I would choose a different background and a different place to set it. The exposure and the composition is nice. Steps, the score is 12. The circles make this image interesting. The shadows on the stairs give it dimension. There's not too much about this picture that I would improve upon. Long May She Wave, score 13. There are a lot of shapes going on in this image. However, the structure in the background almost disappears against the flag. I like the composition, the exposure, and everything in this one looks really good. Pedestrian Bridge, score 13. The lighting and shadows are very interesting in this image. I like the composition too. If I were to improve this image, I don't think I would do anything. I like that it's a black and white and all the shapes that are going on in it look great. City Lines, score 13. What makes this image interesting is the half-circle ceiling light in the office. It's unexpected. I like how the lines turn into rectangles, turn into larger rectangles, and the composition and tilt of the image in this picture is really great. Steel Hoops, score 13. This is a fun image because I can't decide if it's a walking path you can go under the circles or if it's a bike rack, and the surrounding structures are all ambiguous enough to keep it confusing. I really like the composition. Geometrics 101, score 13. This image is actually relaxing to look at even though the diagonal lines evoke energy. I like the shading the dark blacks, the lighter whites, the grays, the different tones of grays, and the different types of shapes that are in this image. I don't think there was much I would improve upon in this one. Image of the past, score 13. I love the old reflected in the new. The granite squares lead your eye into the picture from the right, and the reflection of all the colors work really well in this picture as well. Triangles, circles, and lines, score 13. I really like this image of the hot air balloon. The composition really makes the image. The darker outsides give way to the vibrant rectangles on the inside. The rule of thirds is great. The exposure is great. I really like everything about this image. Spoke and wheels, score 14. Place, honorable mention, photographer Daniel Daly. The strong shadow line on the left of the larger wheel comes in and draws your eye through the picture. The point of focus and depth of field on this image is great. The black and white and exposure and composition are all really well done. There's not really anything I would change about this image. I like everything about it. Which way, score 15. Place honorable mention, photographer Jack Hong. I love the blue in this picture. The arrows are fun. The lighting is great. The exposure is good. The composition is well done. And I just love that the cobalt blue is the big pop of color in this picture. High-rise stairway, score 15. Photographer Mark Bernthal, place 3rd. I like that this black and white image almost looks like a waterfall. The mixture of the metals or glass with the stone really are beautiful. The reflection of the sky, I think it's what it is, which makes it kind of fun and intriguing. It's a beautiful black and white. The exposure's great. The depth of field really works for this image. A delicate balance, score 15. Place, 2nd place, photographer Michael Lasardo Jr. This image is just fun all the way around. I love the vibrant green and that it's a face. And it looks like a headdress, but with all the circles and the different colors, this is just a really fun image. The lighting and exposure and composition are all great in this. I like that they use the rule of thirds, so it's kind of offset. There's nothing I would improve about this picture. I just think it's awesome. Swedish Apartments, score 15. Photographer Karina Johnson, place 1st. I really like this image. The mirror reflection must have taken some patience to wait for calm water. The buildings leading to a point and vibrant colors are all beautiful. Everything about this picture is just gorgeous. Opera House in Taichung, score a 9. I feel this image is very messy. I don't know that the wide angle lens was necessary. The color coming from the glass doesn't enhance the image. There's big blocks of white that don't really have a lot of detail. I don't know what I would have done to improve this image other than change an angle and maybe try to get from a different perspective. Cafe, score 11. This image meets the criteria for the contest. I just find it uninspiring. I do like the vibrant colors of the chair. If I were to improve this image, I probably would have chosen a different angle. It may be focused on just the railing with the squares and shapes, but the intersecting railing with the chairs that intersect the table, that intersect the other chairs, it doesn't have a lot of focus. Sunshades, score 12. I like this image. It isn't super interesting, however the lighting, exposure, and composition make it a pleasant image to look at. A Young Family, score 12. I like this image with the family walking away. It's intriguing. It kind of makes me want to know where they're going. The composition and exposure in this image are done really well. The lines create perspective and a tunneling effect, which is really nice. Lotus Water Lily, score 12. This flower is great as a black and white and should be a black and white. The lines and shapes become the focus. Even the shadows create shapes. I feel like the lighting is a little harsh. It looks kind of like an interrogation lighting. This image would have been a completely different image with a little moodier lighting. So I think if I were to improve this image, I would have lit it a little bit differently to create just a little bit more mood. Geometric 2000, score 13. This image is beautifully composed. The rectangles on the bottom in blue, intersecting with the vibrant rectangles and fuchsia and pinks and blues up top, are really gorgeous. The exposure is perfect in this image. There's nothing I would change in this image to improve it. I like it just as it is. Arctic Ice, score 14. Place honorable mention, photographer Carol Barlow. This image is gorgeous, and I love that nature creates shapes, and all the blue hues are so pretty. I am sure there is an awesome story behind this image, and I'd love to hear it someday. Sony Center Berlin, score 14. The cobalt blue and citron colors are beautiful together and right on trend. I think this image was taken at the right time of day. It would not have had the same impact if taken at sunset. Chapel, score 15. Place honorable mention, photographer Jim Spencer. This image is peaceful and reverent because of the soft light. Even the highlighted windows point upward. The Red Roof House, score 15. Place 3rd, photographer Lin Fin Hong. From one landscape photographer to another, this image is beautiful. I love the red roof against the white with the blue water. The exposure's perfect and the composition is great. I wouldn't change anything about this image. Spiral stained glass in black and white, score 15. Place 2nd, photographer Wen-Chi Lee. The exposure, composition, theme are splendid. It's relaxing and energetic at the same time, if that's even possible. There's nothing I'd change about this image. Grasshopper, score 15. Place 1st, photographer Ming Yang. This image must have taken a lot of patience and diligence to catch a grasshopper in that short amount of time on a flower in that focus. The depth of field and the point of focus are perfect in this image. The lighting, composition, and color are great as well. The rule of thirds works out for this image perfectly. I love all of the color and how soft it is and the exposure in the back. I really like this image. Masters category. Shapes, score 11. I feel like this image lacks a little focus. If I were going to improve this image, I would scan the surroundings and find something a little bit more interesting. It seems like everything in the area was tried to put into one picture. Hanging by a string, score 12. I like the sunburst in this picture because it also creates a shape. I feel like if it had a better depth of field, that this picture would be a little more interesting. Having it crisp and focused from the front to the back kind of makes it a little uninspiring. Evening Comes to Gynaqua, score 12. This is a gorgeous commercial or architectural magazine ad. It would be picked up by any one of the shelter magazines for an architectural ad. For this assignment, I feel like it lacks a little focus. It could have been brought in and a little bit tighter focus or composition on one or two things. Other than that, it completes the assignment and it is a beautiful picture. Lines, angles, and triangles, score 12. This image has nice exposure and composition. The gradient grays to whites and blacks are well exposed. Acoma Pueblo, Life in Balance, score 12. That's a great title for this image because it is very well balanced. I do like the circles and shadows and then the darker rectangle at the bottom. The ladder leading to the roof really draws the eye up. It's moody with the clouds and it looks really good as a black and white. Contemplating the Angles, score 12. This is a nice calming image. I like how he's looking out over the water. And the angles of the windows draw your eye into the image. It looks really great as a black and white. I don't think there's anything I would do to improve this image. Score 14. I love this image. I like that it's so simple in form and yet fun. It looks like it could be a commercial ad. The only thing I would do to improve this image is straighten up the lines and make sure that all the M&Ms are in the middle of the rectangles and straighten up the M. Just clean up a little bit of that styling part of it, but other than that, it's a fun photo. 1890 brick beehive-shaped charcoal kilns, score 14. This is a neat image as well. I like that it's in black and white and all the little bitty bricks create these beehive kilns. I think to improve this image, I would have worked on my depth of field and made the trees out of focus so that the real focus was on the beehives, or even take it a step further and make the first two one of those in focus and then letting the depth of field fall off the further that it goes. I feel like it's just a little too crisp and could have been a little more interesting with depth of field. Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, score 14. I like the strong lines in this image and the contrast of black and the highlights on the building to the left and the low and highlights on the main building in the center. Good rule of thirds, exposure, and composition. There's nothing I would do to improve this image. Arched ceiling, St. Mary's Church, Schulenburg, score 14. I love the colors in this image. It kind of makes me a little dizzy looking up at the ceiling and seeing it like this, trying to figure it out. The lighting and the exposure are nice, and the composition is good as well. Confused, score 14. Place honorable mention, photographer Don Champlin. I like this image. It reminds me of the 1980s lighting books on how to light properly. It is very well lit. I like the look on her face and the composition. There's nothing I would change about this picture. Geometric 2, score 14, place honorable mention, photographer Charlotte Hasty. I like this image because it seems like it could be taken in outer space or on the moon or Mars or something. The strong triangles, rectangles, and circle really make an impact on this image. I'm not sure where the lighting is coming from, but it's really pretty and it's well exposed. Chicago Shapes, score 14, place 3rd, photographer Jen Carrick. The red structures coming across the glass building draw your eye through the picture and are a beautiful contrast against the blue and white sky reflected in the mirror building. I like all the lines and rectangles in this image as well. There's nothing I'd change about this picture. Passers-by, score 15, place 2nd, photographer Dennis Fritz. I like this picture so much. I love the stark contrast between the dark and the white. The shapes and the geometric lines are really cool. The only thing I would change about this picture is I would have somebody in heels or trousers and dress shoes walk across maybe a man, woman in some different footwear, just to kind of give it a little bit more upgrade to the tennis shoes. But I think this is really a fun image. Peabody Institute Library, score 15, place 1st, photographer James Stover. This looks like a 5,000 piece puzzle. This image is really stunning and it's kind of fun. I like the warm lighting contrasted against the cooler lighting. I do like that everything in this picture is crisp, and the composition and the lines and everything are just great.